This happened like a year ago. Me and my mom were coming back from the store. Everything was pretty normal. We were just in the car and my mom was driving. Until I noticed there was a green car next to us. I didn't really care that much. But then my mom sped off as soon as I turned green. She explained why she did that. What she said next made my heart drop. There were two women in that green car. They got a gun out and were about to shoot my mom. My mom had looked at the side mirror of the car. When she saw it, she hit the gas as soon as the light turned green. I was so scared. The car went a different direction, so they didn't follow us. As soon as we got home, my mom explained everything to my grandfather, who was there waiting for us in the house. My mom didn't know who they were. We didn't look at the license plate or call the police. But now, I always remember about that incident every time I see a green car. I wonder, what would have happened if the car was going the same direction as us? Or if the light hadn't turned green in time?
This is a story that my mom told me about a true story. There was a woman in her late 40s and single who never got to experience having children. One day, she decides to fly to Russia to adopt a child, and once she arrived there, she saw a young and small Russian girl that caught her attention. The woman took her home and raised the child as her own. As the years passed by, the girl and the mother lived a happy, normal life until college rolled in and the girl started hanging out with people that were a very bad influence on her. With time, she became rebellious and vicious and started consuming drugs. One night, the mother and her daughter break out into an argument. The next part is super shocking. The daughter lost control, took a knife and stabbed the mother to death. The girl was detained by the cops, but the court was stuck whether to consider it a homicide or to declare the girl a psychopath, as they think the girl could have relived a traumatic event from her past before she was put up for adoption. The woman's family wanted nothing to do with the girl anymore, nor did they ever find out what happened to her.
When I was a kid, we lived in a 3-story house, and our closest neighbors lived 2 miles away. It was a hot summer night when we decided to go for a swim at the beach nearby. It was just me and 3 of my closest friends who were staying over for a few days while my parents were out of town. Once we were done, we reached our house and we noticed that one of the lights on the 2nd floor was turned on. We didn't think anything of it until we suddenly heard a loud bang and the light turned off. We all gasped and I dropped my keys on the floor. I'd reached for my phone in my pocket to call the police when I noticed that my phone had died. Suddenly, one of my friends grabbed the keys and opened the door. We called out for her to stop, but before we could grab her, she was already inside the house, rushing towards the stairs to get to the 2nd floor. I asked my other friend to call the police with her phone while I went to look for our friend. I kept the lights turned off and headed to the kitchen to grab a knife, then up to the 2nd floor. I was halfway there when I stopped, holding the knife in front of me, and called out for my friend. When I didn't receive an answer, I got anxious and started slowly heading up. I heard someone whisper my name, but before I could reach the end of the stairs, I saw the police cars through the window. I decided to let them do their job and deal with this, so I ran down the stairs, tripping along the way. I was a breath away from the door when it slammed on my face. I was completely terrified. My heart was beating 1,000 miles an hour. Before I could open the door again, I heard footsteps behind me and immediately froze. I slowly turned around to see a dark figure on my right, pointing a gun at me. At that moment, the police burst into the house, and the invader ran back upstairs. Then I dropped the knife and started bawling my eyes out until the policeman calmed me down. I was so worried about my friend and about the invader that still hadn't been caught. The policeman escorted me outside to my friend, and we waited silently with another policeman so he could search the house and find them both. After a half hour of searching, he finally found my friend, unconscious, but no sign of the dark figure. It seemed like he had knocked her out with something. At the sight of her, I started crying again because I knew that if the police hadn't arrived in time, it could have been me too. Once we made sure she was conscious and okay, we begged the police to please search the house one more time before we would go inside to sleep. But once again, they didn't find anyone. We were all so terrified that we decided to spend the night at a hotel nearby. 5 years passed and my friends and I had lost contact, since both of them had moved to different states and it was hard to keep in touch. My family and I decided to sell our house and move, so we started to go through our things in order to decide what to keep, what to throw away, or donate. My parents handled the upstairs floors, while me and my sister handled the bottom floor and the basement. After a couple hours, it was time to move on to the basement when we stumbled on our father's old suitcase. We tried to pick it up in order to throw it away, but it was very heavy, so we put it down and unzipped it. What we saw inside was terribly horrifying. We saw the bones of a person and screamed. We immediately told our parents, and they called the police. When the police arrived, they took the bones away as we stood there watching. It was then that I recalled the incident that happened all those years ago. And to this day, I still think about it.